you know, if you're going to be doing a major renovation at any time, then the ADA says, okay, in the course of doing this renovation, you're going to figure out a way to make the accommodations that are needed for people with disabilities. And often, and especially when we start looking at technology access, the remedies or the solutions can be complex. And you can't just say that one aspect is going to solve all problems. And that's why I think it's important as we think about this, that we think about the future. We think about what are we going to do as a society going forward, and the idea of putting the user at the center, user-centered designs, so that as we start building new structures, whether they're digital structures or physical structures, we think about these things in advance so that we're not going back and trying to kludge on awkward solutions to an existing structure. And I think that's where we are right now with Clubhouse, for example. I mean, all the little tweaks that you just had to do for inviting your friend Meryl to come to your Clubhouse, and you had to have an external source, and you had to think about how do we manage the controls, and how do we do this, and how do we do that. Those are all things that happen because the people who are making the structures, whether they're digital or physical structures, aren't thinking broadly. And it's that narrow thinking about what is it to be a human being on the planet that makes these really inaccessible situations. And for me, that's the part that is almost unimaginable to me at this point. How can people who call themselves designers be so narrow in their thinking, so uncreative, so unimaginative, that they're not thinking in the broad way of broad accommodation, making environments, whether physical or digital environments, that are welcoming and comfortable and open. And I don't even like the word accommodate, because it's like, well, now I have to accommodate to your environment because you don't think broadly enough. And I'm just, you know, it's been 31 years since the ADA. So the things that have been built since then, and you know, people talk about it in the digital space too. Oh, it's too complex to make this stuff accessible, or things like Clubhouse, like, oh, you know, well, we can't make this accommodation because it's too complex. Well, I'm sorry, it's not. It's not really that complex if you think about it and plan for it, and it becomes part of your central requirements. I mean, if we can put a man on the moon, certainly we can put, we can make an audio application accessible to all people. And I get really impatient. I do. I get really impatient with that argument, and I think it's lazy thinking. And I just, it's hard for me to have much regard or respect for that position. And so I guess you could count me among the impatient protest folks, because I feel like we've had plenty of time since the ADA was passed. And in the case of the digital world, the WCAG guideline, the first WCAG guideline was issued the same year that Knowbility was founded, which is 1999. So we've had more than 20 years of technology guidelines that are very explicit about how you make technology accessible. So for people to say it's too complex is like saying, well, I don't really know how to do my job. I'm not really good at it. So I can only do this very narrow. I can only play in this very narrow field. I can't play in the broad field of human experience. And I'm just, count me as a skeptic of that. I think they're just lazy. This is Sharon. I'm done.